Hey everybody, Shoe Jack Redemption back around to share with you more 2K greatness. It's been, 3 weeks I think since I last posted, and that was the 83-84 updated roster that I made. Before that I also did the 84 draft class that I shared. So I've kind of done the same thing, just starting with the 91-92 roster. So I want to show that off. Let me first off show that you can find these files separately in roster and in draft classes, but if you want to kind of start off with all of that already done for you, you can also download my shared scenario and just start in the MyNBA eras that way. So let's go with the roster, just so you can see how to find it. So again, like, you have to start with a base. So much like my 83 roster, you can go to the 91, go to user created roster, and then you can find mine. I'm not sure where it'll be in the top here. I can go see, I guess. 518, so it'll be on the first page. It's the sixth one. Otherwise, you can also just search by yippee-ki-a as the ID, or if you search for 91 updated as the title, you'll see that as well. So I'm not going to show off the roster yet. I'll do that when I get to the share scenario, but just wanted to show that. And then for the draft class, much the same. User created. It is called 1992 Players Added. Again, you can search by yippee-ki-a if that's easier. And you can see that I've got the 84 draft class that I've done some updates to since last time I shared it. And then I've already started the 93 draft class. I've not done as much work like with tendencies and things like that, but I did add a few players there and made some adjustments. So if you want that, the biggest thing there is you'll find the real version of Chris Webber that was on the game when 2K launched, and then with the first update, they deleted him. So I guess I will open that one just so you can see. There's Chris Webber. He's got his real picture. And if you go in, it's actually him. So that's kind of cool. Since I won't be showing this one in the shared scenario, I'll just go through it now. A few people I've created. So Bobby Hurley was not on the game. Chris Whitney not on the game. These other guys all were. Lucius Harris created. A few people that were on the game but not included in the draft class. If you realize 2K didn't really add people if they weren't drafted, I think is the consistent factor I've seen. So like Bo Outlaw was supposed to be in the draft class, Bruce Bowen was supposed to be in the draft class, but they weren't included, so I went and stole their DNA from the roster file that's on the game and added them in here. Same with Aaron Williams. I think Antonio Harvey was not on here. I had to bring him in. And I think that's it. So, like I did with the 84 draft class, all of the fake people are made 67 or worse, so they're not better than any of the real people. And then all of their numbers are in the 90s, so you can easily identify that they're not real. I've also made their ages 30, because I realized that they were still kind of some of them were still getting drafted ahead of real people, and I didn't quite understand why. And I took all their potential down to no greater than 67 as well. So hopefully they don't ruin your MyNBA experience. I know there's been a lot of complaining about that, and I would complain as well that if you simulate through, like a decade, you'll look through your rosters and find a whole bunch of fake people at the top of the list, because some of them get really good, but I try to get it to where they won't even play. They can be roster fillers, but they shouldn't be in the rotation. So, pretty good list of people here for 93, but let's go to the 91-92 that this broadcast is supposed to be about. Alright, so if you don't know how to find 2K share scenarios, it's right here. If you don't want to start a brand new MyNBA, which you can click MyNBA and then go ahead and load my roster after choosing the 91 starting point. or you can just choose my share scenario. I'm going to just download a new one to show you. So again, this one is under yippee-ki-a, or you can find 9091-92 realistic, and you'll find it there. I'm not going to download it because I already have it downloaded right here. I'm going to click that so I can show you what is so cool about it. Alright, so roster-wise, there were several people that me, and with some help from my brother as well, we created guys to fill in the roster, so I'm not going to remember everybody that was created, but we did the same thing for the fake people here, where everybody's 67 or worse, their numbers are 99. Well, I guess with the exception of guys that are going up for whatever reason, but he's supposed to be 67. And also made all the contracts for the fake people 1 year, because I hated when I was doing some simulations, some of them were like 4 years, and I would rather them have a chance to fill that with a real person from free agency or future draft classes and things like that. So there's that. I just want to go through and see what stands out to call out. I added in some of the injuries that were really happening back then. So Bernard King was not playing that year. Same with Mark Alari down here. So if you want to turn injuries off or remove those, you can, but I was making it a little more realistic that those guys did not play for the team that year, even though they were on the roster. Similarly, guys that didn't play but were technically under the rights of the team. So Tony Kukoc was drafted in what, 90? Is it 90? I don't remember, but he was already drafted by the Bulls. So since he wasn't going to be in a future draft class, I want him in the roster somehow. So he's on the Bulls with this reason to be out called personal reasons. I made it max out to, I think, 480 days is the max, something like that. So if you want him to continue not playing, you'd have to extend that personal reasons even further after each season. Let's just go through the roster and see what else there is. Dino Raja, kind of the same as Kukoc, was drafted by the Celtics already, but not playing. He was playing overseas. A couple created players here. Rumeal Robinson and Dwayne Farrell added in so that they had a good rotation. I didn't do anything to existing players' attributes. I'm trusting that they're pretty good. I've not done like full simulations and done comparisons to see how realistic they are. The one thing I did touch is tendencies. So I'll go ahead and cover that now because I'm not seeing a lot of people I need to call out that were created. Pete Chilcutt was created since he wasn't on the game. Nobody, I don't think there. Magic Johnson, this was one of his years where he was sitting out, so he was technically still under contract by the Lakers, so I put him out again for personal reasons. So the tendencies that I did do, because I did do some simulations and found that much like the 83-84 rosters, everybody fouls way too much. So we did some playing with it and found that by taking the league foul tendency down, so way over here for everybody, you can do a mass edit for all players, and it took everybody's fouls down by 15 and resimulated, and it's much more realistic. I share that because what I found out was that the actual league option that you can do over here, general simulation. As far as I can tell, this does absolutely nothing. I left everybody's tendencies as they were in the game, took fouls even all the way down to 0 on this, and resimulated, and nothing was different. You would think fouls at 0 would be pretty close to, like, I don't know, no fouls per game, but it was no change. And very similarly, I did that with three-pointers, because while there weren't as many three-pointers in 91-92, or same with 83-84, there were more than when you do a simulation straight with this roster. So what we found through the simulation was that players with a tendency of 10 3-pointers were in real life averaging 1 3 per game. But if you do a simulation, those people were getting like 0.2 per game or something like that. So nobody was shooting enough threes. So we did some simulations to find out what does it take for them to actually average 1 per game, and it was more around 50. So we went through each of the teams and raised those guys' 3-point tendencies that needed to be shooting threes, rather than doing the full mass edit like I did for fouls, because we don't we don't want some people shooting threes, because not everybody did, but people definitely shot more threes than what they do on the default roster. So that's been adjusted. Let me keep going through the rosters here real quick. Created Stanley Roberts here and Brian Williams as the big guys for the Magic before they get Shaq. Mavericks. Mookie Blaylock was probably the best guy we created for this roster, overall-wise and probably fame-wise. I don't count Charles Barkley because I had already created him for the 83 or for the 84 draft class. I mean, nobody there. Pacers created Dale Davis. Just go through real quick. Rod Strickland, this was an interesting one. He wasn't on the roster when I started doing the edits, but I thought, well, he used to be on the game, so I went and looked at the draft class, which is what, 90, I think the 90 draft class, something like that, and he was still there. So I thought, well, maybe they removed him from the game, but they forgot to take him from the draft class. So I brought him over here. And then what do you know, in some update in the last couple weeks, they added him back to the game. So I don't know. I don't know if they lost his rights or there was some confusion about him, but anyway, he's here. Richard Dumas was on the roster but suspended, so I did make him suspended for the season. Andrew Lang was somebody I created. The Sonics, I think Benoit Benjamin was who I created. The Wolves had to create Felton Spencer and Pooh Richardson, who were not on the game. And that's pretty much it. So roster is looking pretty good. In addition to the roster, I also did the best I could with the rotations. So go to a team that, I don't know. Let's go to the Bulls since everybody knows them. So these were as close to the minutes that people played. I mean, obviously people play different numbers of games and things like that because of injuries and rest. But these are as close to the real minutes as you could get with having the main players play. So did that for every single team. The other thing I want to show, free agency, much like the 83-84, I did go ahead and fill the free agency with people who had either been playing internationally or just weren't on a team that particular season in 91, 92, or for some of these people, they're people who had just retired the previous year. So it was a way to get more real people into the mix, because maybe they were open to playing, they just weren't getting any interest. So if you go through, you can see there's a pretty good list for people. So again, all the free agents are 67 or worst, and number 90s, 95 to 99, I think is what I did. So you can see all these people, like some of these guys were on the game, like Haywood Workman. Well, I think all these guys were on the game, just in various places, not in the free agency list. So they're all brought over with their ages and a lot of their attributes brought down. Like Reggie Theus was much better, so brought his attributes down to be a little more realistic. Vinny Del Negro was playing internationally. He seems like a good guy to have on the roster, so brought him over. A couple of these guys actually made for the 83-84 roster, like Mike Mitchell and Danny Franz, but they were still, of playing age, 33, 35. So put them in the free agency just so it, again, keeps fewer fake people in the mix playing. You can see the centers here. So that's that. What else? I think I could show off the 92 draft class. So if I go into the scouting here, go by position, there aren't too many people, but there is enough for a real first round. And I don't mean like every single first rounder is in this, because some of them were terrible and like never played. But there are at least, there were 27 teams in 91, 92. So I think I have 29. I don't know. I guess we could count them. So that's 10 there, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. Maybe it's exactly 30. Nope, there's 31, 32, 33. 33 looks like the number. Oh, 34. I'm picking these guys out because I'm looking at their numbers. If they're not a 90, then they were real. So 34 people. So more than a first round's worth of real people, and really the main people that you would want in your My NBA. So looks like only 4 point guards, so that's not a deep position in this draft. So some of these, or a lot of these guys were already in the class, but like I showed the 93, like David Wesley was available, like in the 92 draft class, he just didn't get drafted, so I brought him over into this file. There was somebody else I know. I'm not going to remember who it was. Maybe it was Slater. I think it was Slater. And then I think I created a few people. So PJ Brown I think I had to bring over as well. So all these guys make up for a much more realistic draft class, and hopefully we'll get drafted in front of the fake people. All right, so I think that's all I will show now, and now I'm going to have some fun doing some simulations myself, and probably will keep updating some of these, like the roster file, and I'll try to remember to upload over the new, or upload a new version of the scenario anytime I change tendencies or attributes or anything like that, so that you guys can have it. Just trying to make it a little bit more realistic every time. And then I guess I'll keep working on the draft classes. So I've already done the 84 draft class for the 83-84 file. So now I'll try to work on 85. For this one, for 91-92, I already have the 92, and the 93 draft class is mostly done. So maybe 94 would be the next one. So that'll be my focus, doing those draft classes that come next. So hopefully you enjoyed this rundown. Hopefully you enjoy these scenarios and files that I'm sharing. Let me know through comments, through likes, what you want to see more of. Till next time, Shushack Redemption is out.